Yeah, hello everybody. So, the, not the Open-Xchange folks, all the others. Do you know when we started this journey here? Do you have an idea when we started this? What do you think? Which year? Huh? 2000? Others? So I met a guy called Martin Kaus in a very small city called Olpe in the Sauerland. And Chris Larrell, our marketing expert, he always says, that's the German rainforest, And he's right. He's absolutely right, So how can you do a business and start a business in the rainforest, in the German rainforest of a small town with 20,000 people, really in a city like Olpe? You need to be crazy. So the guy I met was really crazy. He was a video programmer, Martin Kaus. He was beginning of 20 years old, and I met him there where I had a little office there, and I asked him, what do you want to do? What is your idea? He said, yeah, I'm doing a little internet company, I'm starting this because the video market is gone. I said, what? So he said, yeah, this internet thing will be big, I said, okay, what are people doing in the internet? I had no clue, by the way. I'm not a technician, I'm not an engineer, I'm just, a sales and marketing person, a boring one, So what I understood there, I said, okay, if you want to do that, what is your market? He said, what? Market? Do I need to think about market? No, the market is the internet. Everybody needs it. I said, I don't get it, He said, okay, there is something you need to see. He said, okay, there is a computer event, a computer show where you have to go to, and then you spend 2 days or 3 days there, and then you know what I'm talking about. So what he said is, go to Hanover. There's this little fair called CeBIT. So I went there, and really, I was blown away. I said, okay, the industry I'm in right now, that was financial industry, is really boring, And this industry here, there's so much momentum. Really, something is going on here. I need to be part of that. So I went back and said, Martin, what should we do with this internet thing? And he said, yeah, the biggest application in this internet is email, right? So, and email is really, really, really important. So as a marketer, as a salesperson, I went out to several people and say, okay, in this internet space, is there any room for a new company we can do? Is there anything new we can provide? So I looked at the stuff, and Martin told me, look, this is what email looked like in 1972. You see that on the slide. This was the email experience. That was the email experience. And he said, Frank, we can do something, where we can provide a better experience, a much better experience. So I went to a couple of guys in Olpe, and around, and asked them, is it really feasible to do something in the email space? And they said, no, don't do any business in the email space. Email is gone, You have Yahoo, you have AOL, and you have Microsoft Exchange, and you have Lotus Notes. And these are all the great applications. There's no room left for any email, not at all. Email is dead, That is not a market you should go after, not at all. I said, okay, that's a good indication, I will do that. So then, then we started the whole thing, and we started the company, and actually in 2000, I met Raphael, because the company and my wife is sitting there, and my daughter as well. They don't know that we were almost bankrupt. And they probably hear that first time now. So that was really the case. So then I met Raphael, and I said, Raphael, we are in this email space, and he said, okay, let's think about it, what we can do, what is the service you are providing, and we asked again a couple of people, and they said, email is dead. Don't do anything in the email space, do something else, but not email. And Raphael and I said, okay, that's a good indication, we do that, right? We do email. Okay, we did it again. And then we did then, and that was the company we had at that time, that was called Netline Internet Services. It was not even Open-Xchange. When we started in 1996, this whole journey, with email and all the other services was actually 1996. And then in 2004, 2005, we did the company called Open-Xchange with new shareholders and all that around. So we need to convince the new shareholders that we want to do business in email, And that was tough, And also they asked, should we do email? And then this Google Wave thing came, And everybody thought, all about email is gone away. Email is dead again because everybody will use Google Wave in the future. And the email experience you have had so far is not going to work in the future anymore. So we said, okay, it's again a good indication, That's proved the point. And Google Mail came also then to market. Say, okay, if Google is going after email, that actually is a good indication that there is a market. Otherwise, Google would never, ever have done that or would do it. So that was a good decision. We say, okay, but now we need to concentrate on what is really important on the email side. So what we have seen in the past few years really is that the evolution of email is not radical. It's an incremental, an incremental evolution which we see over time. So from then on, a lot of things have been done, and Google has influenced that as well. And we had the idea, to provide an even ever better email experience by integrating other applications into the email experience. So, because a lot of the stuff really starts with email, and from email you can start your journey. So that was the whole idea, not to really radically change the email experience, but provide an integration of all the other things you need to do, into the email experience and make it more efficient and provide by that a better experience. So where we started, actually the company, was really focused on the better experience, and how we want to do that is integrating other applications, to make the life of the end user better. Then, on the other side, it needs to be more efficient also for the service provider. So we did the big service provider transition actually in 2007 when we met the folks from 1&1, Andreas Gauger, and he advised us what will happen in the future in this market. So we transformed that again. We turned that around completely again, but always in mind to provide the best possible user experience in the world. And this is our mission by the end of the day, for the end user, with a very high efficiency. And that is what we are focusing on. So, thinking about email, is it still relevant? If you think about it, still email, the email messages, there are still more email messages sent than anything else in the world right now. Even my daughter, when she was 14, she probably has not sent one single email in her life, but she was a lot of things doing on social media, on social communication. But now she's 17, she starts using email. The older she gets, and my son is the same thing, they will use email. So email is still important. Why is that? Because email is the only thing which provides a unique identity, And it's really needed for all the things we are doing today. For all our digital communication, email is needed. And for that, and you have heard that from Raphael in the morning, it's super important to have it secure. So it's about two aspects. To provide the best experience, which is our mission really, is really to be efficient and to be secure. And this is what we do. And if you want to know what we do on the efficiency side, tomorrow we have a lot of workshops, where we provide deep dives into the product, what we're doing on the product side to make it even better every time, So you can listen into that as well. And then the security aspect, is as important as well. So that is something we do in the afternoon, so right after the coffee break today, you will see 2 sessions, from DAFCAT and from Power DNS, and with the initiative we do under Trusted Internet Services, and Mikolina Meki, one of the co-founders of DAFCAT, will introduce the concept, how we work with the Trusted Internet Services. Raphael mentioned that in the morning session as well. So please join those sessions. Is that good enough to provide the security? It's not. Because to provide the full stack, and the maximum possible security, we need partners. Without partners, it's not possible, And we need real specialists. We really need the best ones in the world because we think, we are on our mission to provide the best user experience in the world. So we need world-class partners to do that with us on the security side as well. So, and one partner we are working with very closely in many, many projects, very successfully, is CloudMark. And these guys are really experts in this market. And the lady who will present, what CloudMark is and what CloudMark provides, Marie-Laure, she will be on stage in a second. And usually, when she comes on stage, she brings the good weather with her. She comes from Nice. She lives in Nice. She always takes the good weather with her. Yeah. Normally, you can do that, Marie-Laure. I don't know why it didn't happen today, but she will make you all shine. I can promise you, Marie-Laure.
Thanks. Good afternoon. So I must say I'm going to follow the good advice of a good friend of mine, Jerome, who told me best to say what you feel, so I must admit I'm a bit scared. So once that's been said, as it is a premiere for me to speak in front of such an audience, I think now, everything will be fine. So there's a couple of things I've kept from this morning session and the session from Jerome and Frank is, we are what we are. We are human, aren't we? We have a brain, which is a fantastic machine. And that brain gives us a lot of things. The good things being to be creative, to be innovative, to think for the greater good, which I think, it's basically what we all have in mind in this room. But also, there is always a dark side of the thing. I'm a baby of Star Wars. I still remember the first time I saw this movie. I was 13 years old. So yes, there is always a dark side. And the dark side in the business I'm in is the bad guys that are always trying to destroy what we are trying to do, being kind of unbreakable for the last 14 years. So how do we make email efficient? Before I get into the slide, just briefly, email messaging security is a mature market. Though, this is really a mature market, email is still the go-to form communication on a business perspective. And this is also the greatest vector of threat for the most sophisticated and targeted attack that we see nowadays. So we all come from, some times whereby talking about email and spam and security was all about, broad spam campaign of email sent. Nowadays, the game is a bit different. We are dealing with people that the only thing they do is try to target you as an individual, and they are very much helped nowadays by Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. It's so easy for them to trick, what you're trying to do, and then launch persistent, what we call nowadays APT, an advanced persistent target campaign to basically steal your data, your credential, your intellectual property, whatever. So what we're trying to do at CloudMark is to avoid this to happen. And we've been doing this for 14 years. We started in 2001. And we've been successful because of innovation and because of the people. I fully agree with what Raphael or Jerome or anybody says. There is no success, whatever the market you work. There is no success if there is no people. There is no success if there is no trust, and there is no success if there is no partnership. So one of the key assets of Cloudmark outside of the technology is the people who built up this company. We are a small company, 120 people, but the key for us is the brain and the cleverness and the expertise that the people that work for us have and provide. So since 2001, we end up being now providing our solution to 120 service providers worldwide. This is our main target and focus. We deal with ISPs and hosting company. And in the meantime, we are also protecting 10% of the world mailboxes and scanning. I'm not saying stopping, but I'm saying scanning 4.8 billion messages a day. So what I'm going to try to say within the next 10 minutes is, how do we keep on doing this in a constantly evolving world, in a more complex world, and in an interconnected security ecosystem? So how do we make that your email channel is not the chink in your armor? I didn't know that word. I like it, chink. So, I need to use that thing, yeah. So before I deep dive, or not really deep dive, but get into messaging security purely, I thought it was going to be interesting to give you a view of a recent study I read from PwC about cybersecurity. So I think I wanted to keep some of the key findings, is that cybersecurity is basically a persistent business threat nowadays. So looking at the survey, what we see is that security breaches are inevitable. 90% of the company that has been surveyed this year said they have had a breach, compared to 83% the year before. And if you look at the geographic of where those cyber attacks happen, you realize that cybersecurity and attack is in the rise in Europe. So 41% jump in the number of incidents detected. And that word I've highlighted is really important, because it's only the tip of the iceberg. A lot of the attacks, companies are not aware of it, or companies do not report the attack, either for strategic reason, for brand reputation, or because the attack is being investigated, or because the attack come from internal instead of external, because attackers can come from everywhere. People from your own company can decide that they would be better off stealing some information from you. So how do you do to protect against that? So another thing is that, of course, because the incident rise, then the financial impact to mitigate those incidents is also rising. So you can't really kind of push this away, because at the end of the day, the bottom line is affected and your profitability could also be affected. Another thing which is for me very interesting is that though cybersecurity is a kind of number one key topic, then you realize that it's not a number one investment to date. And the other thing is that most of the board of directors, or people that do matter, people that make the decision, that hold the budget, they are very often at the moment not involved into dealing with what do we do to secure our business environment. So I think, it shows that to me, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. It will happen. You don't know when, but it will happen, whether you're an ISP, whether you're a government, whatever. Somebody one day will try to, because that is human nature. You always have a bad guy who's going to try to destroy what you've been doing. The thing that could potentially change the game, and again, we spoke this morning about safe harbor. Here also, the EU, probably in 2017, is going to mandate that security incidents are disclosed. So that could, potentially change some of the paradigm. So getting into the messaging landscape, what is important to bear in mind is that, as I said, email remains the go-to form communication in the business world. So 6% year-on growth in 2013. Social engineering, that's the key change over the last years, becomes the primary vector for email cyber attack. easy to trick, as I said. Successful threats are resulting in greater impact to end users, so fewer victims, but big damage on a finance perspective. And overall, 95% of the global email traffic is malicious, and 90% of APT that we see today starts with either a phishing or spear phishing attack. So I like this slide. The reason I like it is not only because it's graphic and not only because of the weird names. I didn't came up with those names. But what it shows is in each of those APT, there are some common denominator. First, everything, all those attacks, the attackers, either the primary vector to start this attack was a phishing or spear phishing, or if it was not the only or primary vector, it was part of the method to infect the victim. The second thing is, as I said, it's a limited number of victims. If you look at the one that happened in Italy and Turkey, for instance, it targeted a bank. In less than a week, 500,000 euros disappeared, going to accounts of course, criminals. But there were only 190 people that were targeted to do this. So that's all about money. You lose the money, which is not very good. In the context of, that weird word, the crunching Yeti, it's 2,800 organizations worldwide targeted, so this one is more global, US, Asia, Europe. The main focus, stealing confidential data, intellectual property, can be hugely damaging for any corporation. The dark hotel, very interesting one, Asia, targeting specific people like, I don't know, Jerome going in Asia, is the CEO of Scality. That guy must have very important information that we could steal. Raphael, so basically, top managers, top executives targeting when they were getting into a hotel, stealing their data, and then, having access, therefore, to the company infrastructure as a possibility. And the last thing about a recent investigation from the FBI in the US, whereby they listed, I think it was last year or the year before, 7,500 victims targeted in APT, reached to a 1.2 billion loss. The most famous in the US was quite recent, I think. It's a company called Ubiquity Network, who lost $40 million by, spear phishing attack, spoofing the CEO email, and asking the so-called CEO, asking the CFO whether to make a money transfer. I think they've only been able to recover $10 million. So there is, some legal action against that. So basically, massive potential loss. So what do we do at CloudMark to prevent those things to happen? I say prevent because it's not 100% proof. But what do we do? What we provide our customer with, I think, is a breadth of capability and effectiveness in basically being able to stop all messaging-borne attacks. So when we started in 2001, it was all about, stopping spam. That was it. But it goes much more beyond this nowadays. It's not about stopping spam or just malware. It's about all coming threats and all forthcoming threats. So in order to do this, you need to understand the attacker strategy. You need to think like those guys are thinking. And you need to be able to identify how the attack is built, and you need to act on the element of the attack. Once again, it's not just about, scanning an email with a content filter. It's about being able to understand how this attack is built, act on the element, could be domain name, landing page, act account, you named it. In order to do that, once again, it's not only the technology. You need to have the people that understand the market, but also understand the threat landscape. And it's true that at CloudMark, we have a very, very strong team, a very strong research team And it's probably because I'm the only woman speaking, but I'd like to underline that in an industry whereby the number of women is hugely underrepresented, then at Cloudmark we have one of our director of engineering, a woman called Angela Knox, who's recently been nominated in the US as one of the 5 women that are really key in this domain. So without people like Angela, we wouldn't be able to be where we are today. So once you have the breadth of capabilities, once you understand how those guys work, then you need to build a predictive defensive. You need to stop the attack before it starts. But one thing we know is the attackers, they will always evolve. So you need to be designed to evolve. So at Cloudmark, what we did also is open our software to include some new protocols, such as DNS. The reason for that is that DNS is quite often a primary vector for bots or command and control infection. But there is one thing that we all know: email doesn't live alone anymore. Email needs to be integrated in a broader, ecosystem, which means that we need to correlate with agent security technologies. There could be network security, webmail security. Our solution is meant for that. Our solution is fully open. It's not open source, but that solution is fully open. And we need to integrate with backend security information, such as Dovecot. We need to be able to integrate with storage like Scanity. And obviously, it sounds quite obvious, but if you are not scalable and if you are not available, then, this is dead right from the beginning. Though this is something we've been always very cautious on, is that we do our solution to scale. Cloudmark customer range from Orange, LGI, Comcast, whoever, name them. The biggest one in this domain use our technology, and we have to be available and scalable. So everything I've said is transformed into this diagram. This is what Cloudmark does, basically. Whatever the message stream, whatever the vector it came from, could be email, DNS, could be SMS, name it. We take it. We applied our magic. We applied our technology. We get it supported by our research team. And what we do is to deliver clean traffic and clean message to you in order for you to run your business, with a peace of mind. So this is what I consider today. Our solution is simple and fast to deploy. I must say our solution is 100% software-based. It runs, on-premise, VM, cloud. But this is in Europe, because my territory is Europe. What I see in Europe is this architecture, for me, is becoming some sort of de facto standard for our main customer. So Cloudmark has the MTA, either at the front of existing MTA or replacing former one, inbound, outbound, backend being Dovecot. As I said, most of the time, storage being Scanity. So this is really a proven architecture and technology. And I will finish with maybe an advice or a recommendation. I do think that messaging security should be at the top of your business agenda, if it's not today. You have to assure to be able to choose a best-of-breed solution that can constantly adapt to a really evolving environment. And it is also about the people. You need to select a security partner with a relevant roadmap and that meets your security assessment requirements. So Cloudmark is a US-based company, but Cloudmark largest customer operate in Europe, and everything in relation to security, we take that obviously very seriously, and we do follow, what the EU say we should do. So, it is really important for us that our customer in Europe feel that not only the solution is secure on a technology perspective, but that they can rely on a very secure partner. I think I'm done, actually.
Thank you.